there's obviously lots of ideas floating out there. I have lots of ideas all the time. And, generally I need to work through them from a commercialization and a productization perspective. So to say, hey, is there really a market out there for what I'm thinking about? And once I have validated that, then I kind of jump in with both feet.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Apply Tech series. UpTech Report is sponsored by TerraLeap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I'm excited to be joined by my guest, Shayne Skaff, who's based in San Diego, California. He's the CEO at Blooma. Welcome, Shayne. Good to have you on.
Thanks, Alexander. Thanks for having me.
Now, Blooma is an underwriting platform powered by AI for the commercial real estate space. Help me understand, Shayne, what was the problem that you guys you and your co-founder set out to solve? What was that problem?
Yeah, well, my co-founder is the chairman and founder of a bank here in San Diego called ABP Capital, a gentleman by the name of Michael Purcell. And he came to me in January of 2018 to really kind of find out what was happening in and around kind of innovation for originating commercial real estate loans. Was there any software products out there that he could plug into to help him monitor how he manages his existing loan portfolio? I had not traditionally operated in that space. I'm a career technologist, so I've spent my career building AI and ML platforms. But I spent the next few months kind of looking at who was doing what in that space, so that I could come back and intelligently have a conversation with him about kind of where I thought the market was in terms of innovating within the commercial lending space.
Got it. Okay. Well, we'll come back to, again, how you guys are solving that challenge with commercial lending. But I'm curious a bit more on your journey. You said you're used to being in the tech space using AI and ML. You had a company, Maintenance Net, is that correct?
Yeah.
In 2004, you had that 12 years, which was acquired by Cisco in 2015. What was that the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey?
More or less. Yeah, in the tech space. I mean, prior to that, I went through the mid to late 90s selling technology infrastructure for a couple of different companies. But yeah, I launched Maintenance Net in 2004 originally to really help companies automate how they manage and transacted annuities. So automate how they renewed service agreements, how they renewed software license agreements and such. And so our platform basically told them which of their clients had the highest propensity to renew. The machine would automate quotes out to those clients and get them to renew without talking to people.
That would be powerful for the sales team. That makes now sense why you built that. Coming from the sales background, you probably were doing that at these companies. Like, there's got to be a better way to automate this. Yeah,
it was more from a perspective of, salespeople don't touch like small renewals because it just costs too much money. So what we did in that space is our clients were massive companies that had massive volumes of very low dollar renewals that are for a human to go after would just be too expensive. But in aggregate, for a lot of these companies, it represents billions of dollars of renewal revenue that can't be ignored. But the only way to get at it is with machines. And that's why we built that. But as a salesperson, when kind of the .bomb hit, hardware margins went plummeting. And which means we were, as salespeople, making less money on the products that we were selling. So I had to find a more profitable product to sell to my clients, and that was in the service arena. So selling service renewals, selling software was more profitable. And so I put together a little MySQL database that would tell me when service coverages were expiring so that I could go renew it. So that was the premise for Maintenance Net. Obviously, once we started it, we took it a step further, which was not having me renew it, but having the machine renew it on behalf of the salesperson. So it cost me less money, cost the organization I was working for less money. Everybody's happy.
So you come from a sales background, training and everything, or like where did the technology piece? You just were always interested in technology?
Yeah, I mean, I had a business degree. I came out of University of San Diego, basically went right into selling, and right really into technology selling. I started my career selling digital alpha systems. So there used to be a company called Digital Equipment Manufacturers, which got purchased by Compaq, which got purchased by HP. Yeah, I really learned the tech piece just, by doing and by consuming information on the job. I'm not a coder. I wouldn't consider myself a technical person. I understand enough about technology to sell it.
Because we have many SaaS founders and leaders who listen to this, if you had one lesson learned of selling technology, what would that be?
Well, mine is that I just focus on hiring people way smarter than myself in every aspect, not just on the technology side. So yeah, because I am not a scientist, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a developer. I have to work with really smart people that know that space. I know where my strength is, and I stay in that lane. Hiring smart people around you to do those things that you're just not optimal at is, I think, for me, has been successful for me.
So post acquisition with Cisco of your first main company, MaintenanceNet, I guess you spend the next few years just advising and helping other companies. What would that look like?
Well, I had to stay on with Cisco for a year. So I had contract as part of the acquisition. I stayed on with them until the summer of 2016. And I pretty quickly jumped out of that, not because Cisco's an amazing company, but I'm just not good at working for big, large organizations like that. I mean, there is a skill set there that I just didn't feel I had, and quite frankly, just didn't enjoy. So my partner and I, even prior to selling Cisco, set up a little venture fund that basically allowed us to make investments into early stage SaaS B2B enterprise software companies. And so we had been making those investments. When I left Cisco, I started to take more of a role in that and spend a lot more time talking to companies. That's Mooring Ventures, yeah. Then we started an incubator in San Diego to really help technologists have a place to go to kind of work out their ideas, and that was called the Sandbox San Diego. And that's really where Mike and I brought the Blooma concept to. So we actually started building the Blooma technology in that incubator in summer of 18.
Yeah, so first the idea came, or you said Michael had this idea, and you're incubating it, you're kind of investing in it, but you're not actually running it yet. At what point did you decide to jump in, and then was it already from that point you're like, I'm going to run this?
No, I mean, the way I think about things is, there's obviously lots of ideas floating out there. I have lots of ideas all the time. And, generally I need to work through them from a commercialization and a productization perspective. So to say, hey, is there really a market out there for what I'm thinking about? And once I have validated that, then I kind of jump in with both feet. And so with Blooma, yeah, I mean, Mike and I had been talking for 6 months, and I had been kind of working out the productization and commercialization of what I thought we could build. So I talked to multiple banks, about what we wanted to build locally here. Talked to a couple banks up in LA. And then it wasn't until I had enough validation that what we were thinking about doing was going to be acceptable by multiple folks that I had surveyed. That's when we decided to jump in. And so I kind of got verbal commitments, if you will, that said, hey, Shayne, yeah, if you could build something that automated how we do pre-flight on commercial loan origination, I would buy that, right? And then once we had that validation, then I jumped in the summer of 18. We started to build the platform. I took some of my folks out of Cisco that had worked for me on the product side, on the development side, and we started to build a platform.
I'll be frank, loan origination is not very sexy. What got you excited? Like what's driving you in this business?
Well, Alexander, neither is maintenance or service contract renewal. So
that is true. That is very true.
It is funny because I mean, what I think is sexy is solving something that is really difficult, right? I mean, and on on both of those businesses, on maintenance renewal and software license renewal, there's still so much room to run over there. I mean, I thought about, should I go back and do that space, right? But I was a little bit burnt out on that space. Mm. But for those out there that want to do something in that space, it's a greenfield still. So go have that. So yeah, it's like, when I was looking at what was happening in lending in general, specific to real estate, I looked at what the residential space was doing. And in fact, because I interface with that space more just through my own activity, buying homes, selling homes. And I felt like the residential space was more than a decade ahead of commercial real estate. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was a huge aha moment, because if I looked at the resi space and I saw nothing, I would have probably thought, you know what, it's still too early. Like the market is not ready to buy this type of product. But when I saw that what was happening on the resi side, I thought, you know what, like they're 10 years ahead. Like we need the commercial space is ready. And so, I got real excited, and I looked at the organizations that were buying innovation on the resi side. They had massive commercial real estate businesses, which told me that there's just a lack of product in the marketplace. And so the combination of those two things just really got me super excited, and why I spent my summer of 18 starting to build. And we built all through 18 and all the way through 19. And we didn't launch our commercial product until January of 2020.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you spent a good full year and a half, 2 years just focus on building the product, which is funny to me as a salesperson. I feel like you'd be ready, like, let's sell, like, let's get it out there.
Well, I'm always selling, but during that process, you're selling on what we're doing so that you can come out of it with bookings. And so
can you share a tactic on that one particularly? What is a good way to build up your wait list? Like, what were you doing tactically?
Yeah, I mean, I was so a lot of those banks that I was surveying, like pre-product, were our first customers, right? So they gave us real wonderful access. Some of them, a couple of them, literally were part of our product team. They gave us access to their underwriters. So before we started coding, even at all, we had access to underwriters that helped us map out all of the manual activity that went into originating a new commercial real estate loan, auditing a current loan portfolio, and so forth. We modeled all that out, and then we brought in the product team and developers, said, okay, what pieces of this can the machine take over to really move the people to their art of their job? We don't ever look at technology, AI, ML, or anything else as a means to replace people. We really look at it as a means to do more with the people that you have, right? So everybody looks at it as a cost takeout, and it certainly is. But what eventually happens is the customers see it as more of an uplift in production with the same headcount that they have. And so, during that time, I was talking to banks, and every time I could get introduced to a new bank, I would tell them the story about this is what we're building, and the product, this is where the product's at. And, we're looking at a commercial launch in January. And so by the time January 2020 came around, I had already been talking to lots of banks. Most of the banks were the banks in my network, which are, big national banks. And then we jumped right into discussions. Obviously the pandemic hit, which was a massive, blow. But from March through most of 2020, we sold mostly on portfolio monitoring, because these banks were now thinking, like, how is this new environment going to impact my current loan portfolio? And because we're doing this continuous monitoring of their loans, of the assets in their loan, we could actually tell them what was happening with that loan portfolio. And essentially, most of the clients we signed in 2020, I had already been talking to in 19 before we even had a product built.
Interesting. Okay. So let's take a second and switch over to the tech piece for a moment, knowing you're not a technical person, but the technology to be able to sell it. Help me understand, just let's dive a little bit deep into how does it work? Why does it work? Where's the value?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's, people think AI and machine learning is magic, and they also think when they see an AI platform, they think it's like all AI, right? And so, artificial intelligence and machine learning generally are scary to highly regulated environments like commercial banking, right? We're only using artificial intelligence in two pieces of our product. One is in how we read documents. So, we allow clients on the front end of origination, they can upload offer memorandums, broker packages, unit mix, rent rolls, P&Ls. We wrote all the models to read those packages. And then the second place is when they're interfacing with rent comparables, sales comparables within the platform, they're actually training the machine on what's important to them for the various asset classes that they're looking for comparables on. Those are really the two spaces where we're using artificial intelligence. The AI is not making a decision for the client or for the bank. It's literally helping them have information for them to quickly make the right decisions for their organization. And so that's where we're using AI. The rest is around automation through a wonderful user interface, which we've built. We've taken all of these point solutions that exist within lending, like data gathering on comparables, like cash flow analyses and valuation, and like OCR tools. We've just bundled all of that within the Blooma framework so that they have one spot to go to do a lot of different activities.
The concept and technology of reading a document using AI to understand what's in a document is not new, and honestly there's a lot of solutions out there, but it's how you've wrapped it up. It's the UI. It's the experience that you're providing tailored specifically to commercial loan.
It's the platform. The UI is really the user experience and how they experience the technology that you've built, right? The AI helps bring information together. We have models within the platform that helps to take that information, and we obviously have the ability to calculate and provide results that our customers can look at and then make decisions around. So yeah, it's how you wrap that all together that is really the power, because wonderful technology that doesn't allow people to make like really quick decisions generally just stinks, right? So we want to produce something for the users that is easy to understand and quick to react on.
This underlying tech, I feel like it's becoming a staple in some ways. Are you guys utilizing a lot of the existing solutions that are out there and just being able to apply it in new ways?
In some spaces, I'm a big believer in buy versus build. So shortening product to market time is super important. And so, as you said, OCR. So on the borrower guarantor side, we can read bank statements, tax returns, K1s, but those technologies have been out there for a long time, and they're getting better and better and better. Why would I go and reinvent the wheel there, right? So we generally look for the best companies in categories, and where we can buy or license, we will. And in that case, we license a tool to read that side of the house.
The loan originators, these individuals, these banks, what were they using before you? Was there not a solution for this space?
Like I said, there's multiple solutions, but they're all point solutions. So, today, you've got a lot of these guys going from a data perspective. They go to, a data provider like CoStar to pull comparables, or and they've got their Excel spreadsheets to do their modeling, and then they have a different tool to do the cash flow analysis, and then a different tool to do the spreading of tax returns. So there's all of these point solutions. So yeah, there's all kinds of solutions out there, but nobody's really bringing all of them together into a platform that allows a user one interface to work out of, and then that interface can deliver the resulting information back to internal systems that need that data. So for instance, like, our clients, a lot of them have loan origination systems that they're working in. They can continue to work in those LOS systems. We can actually identify when a deal comes in, do all of the analysis, that we do, and then push the data back into that system that their underwriters or analysts are currently working in, right? Makes it super easy. We don't have to break process. There's no forklifting of one software system to put in our system. So the way we've built our platform, and we're in AWS. The way we built our platform, it makes it easy to plug into systems that exist within our customer base today.
Obviously, you're somewhat biased, but with this COVID and push to remote work, and people are like, are we going to re-up on our leases, et cetera, and thoughts, how do you see that affecting the commercial side of loans, and because I'm assuming commercial real estate is one big piece when it comes to commercial loans?
Yeah, I mean, we see all asset classes going through our system, and I mean, I can tell you, the things that you would assume are happening are like, hospitality has gotten crushed, and it continues to be super difficult. But like multifamily and industrial, I mean, even in Q3 of 2020, we saw it starting to come back pretty hardcore, and it's like amazing. I mean, there's multifamily, industrial is super hot. So yeah, I think and even I think office space is going to come back. I mean, I think people initially thought, and I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen with office space, and are people going to go back to the office? But I think as COVID continued to last, people were like, I can't wait to get back to the office. I know, like, we moved into a new office, just recently, and our people, we're not fully back in, but people can't wait to get back and be around one another. So I don't think it's going to have the dramatic impact that everybody thought it was at the beginning of COVID. I think the work environment is going to change. The way office space is utilized is going to change. But I think there's going to continue to be a high demand for office space. I think hospitality is going to come back. It's just, that's going to come back as we start to see, Delta and some of these, whatever else is coming down the pipe, subside a bit. And I think hospitality will also, this commercial real estate is the second largest asset class in the world, right? So it's not a matter of when things are going to start happening again, and deals are going to start flowing through all asset classes. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, got it. Not if, not when. You said you got a new office. The team, for your team, most of them are in that area. How big is the team?
Yeah, we've got an office in Israel, which we do a lot of our back end development in. We've got an office in Austin, which is another kind of technical center for us. Most of the folks are here in San Diego, and then we've got a couple of remote sales folks around the country. But yeah, we're about 25 people now.
Got it. Gotcha. For you, when you kind of look forward in this space and make any tech predictions on technology being applied to the commercial loan space, anything you can imagine coming in 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years? Anything you expect?
I think what's happening, I feel like what is happening is that, lenders, commercial lenders, private lenders, I think folks that have not traditionally focused on innovation are now kind of really starting to look at how to do things differently. I think especially in the commercial banks, you've got these monolithic systems that aren't so friendly to talk to outside systems. I think people are moving more towards building out their kind of data core and allowing these kind of ancillary systems that are needed to run the bank efficiently to feed into and out of that data core, rather than to have like this big system that is a green screen that's super difficult to work with. And so, that's why we built Blooma the way we have. We've built it on microservices where, even for ourselves, we have to subscribe to different pieces within our platform so that they talk to one another. And that's what we're doing within our customer base. So we want to be able to talk to systems that they have that need the results of our analysis and need the data that we have to go back into those systems so that they can do other things with it. And I think that's really where banking in general is going to. And I'm having lots of discussions with some of the largest banks in the world. And every one of them has some massive implementation going on within their technology stack. And so I think it's going to move more towards this kind of nimble place where we can buy solutions for specific uses and have all of those systems kind of talk to one another.
A global ecosystem of different systems talking to each other. Blooma, why the name?
We kind of look at lending, and specifically in kind of real estate lending, as like the seeding of a building, or the renovation of a building, the new construction of a building, and that's really how kind of this Blooma came about. I don't even remember who mentioned it first, but it hit stuck. And we went with
it. Switching gears a little bit, you as a leader, you have a successful track record here. Great at sales, run a whole startup and grows, gets acquired. Now run a nice little fund, and then now you're running your next one. If you had to think of what has contributed to your success, maybe like the top 2 or 3 things that have contributed to your success so far, what would that be?
I mean, the top thing is the people that I've surrounded myself with. I mean, without them, I would have nothing. So, I just have such an amazing network around me. Got people that have worked with me and for me for a decade or more, that still are with me. I'd say, curiosity is the reason why I keep doing things. I'm a curious person, and I like to figure out how to build technology to make people's lives better. And yes, it's not a sexy space. It's generally not in a sexy space. I mean, sexy spaces, you've got 100 people trying to work on those, right? It's like, there's almost nobody that wants to go in and do anything in banking for all the reasons that you and I know. And then the third is just, I have fun doing it. I mean, if I didn't, I couldn't do it. It's too difficult. And, launching businesses, funding businesses, it's not like a straight line. It never is. And so unless you can have fun doing it, and you can put everything in perspective, of course, it's not something that I would do if I didn't feel good about it.
A lot of business leaders listen to our series as well. Time management, that's another big thing of how do you manage your time. And are you have a family? Are you married?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, time management is a big one. As I've gotten older, I think it's more about prioritization, right? When it comes to time management. So I've got 3 kids, I've got a 15-year-old girl, a 13-year-old girl, and a 4-year-old boy. And I've been married for 20 years to a wonderful Swedish woman. I mean, that's my priority. So, making sure that I'm doing everything for them first is absolutely top of mind. And then again, on the work front, it really becomes again about the people. Like there's no way I could operate everything that I do without substandard people around me. It couldn't happen. And so, that's really how I do time management. I've got, great people that know how to do their job, so I don't have to spend the time doing it. If I have to tell somebody everything they should be doing, they're the wrong person in the wrong position. I rarely have to do that. I mean, in fact, most of the time I've got people telling me what I need to be doing. So it's like, I love it. I want to be the one being pushed rather than being the pusher.
This is the third time that you've referenced the power of people that has played in your success. I need some wisdom. All right, share some wisdom here of it sounds like you've hired the perfect people the entire time, and you just had success all the way through. I mean, can you share any lessons learned when it comes to hiring the right people?
Oh yeah, I mean, that definitely isn't the case. I've hired lots of the wrong people, which isn't to say they were bad people. In many cases, I've hired people that I shouldn't have, because I basically forced them into a position that they shouldn't have been in. I've made, I've hired, family members, I've hired friends.
So don't hire
Rarely is
family
that a
people.
good idea. And I know there are other people that say, oh yeah, working with family and friends is wonderful. It's, if you can get it right, I can see how it's amazing. But yeah, it's, that part has rarely gone right for me. But yeah, for me, I think I've gotten better at really seeing what people enjoy doing and what they should be doing, and then putting them in exactly that position. I think early on as an entrepreneur, you just want to get people in and hope that they do well in that position, rather than say, oh, they're applying for this position. I can see they've done it before, but do they really have the personality, or do they know enough about what themselves to think that they can actually pull this off? And I think I've gotten pretty good at my age to actually see that just because somebody wants to do something doesn't mean that they're the person that should be doing it. That makes sense?
Yeah. It's just because they're there. I feel like there's a multitude of stories within each of the statements you just shared of family members and friends and people that you shouldn't hire. For you, kind of going forward from here, what are you most excited about? Like, whether it's, if you want to talk about Blooma and the roadmap there, or just for you personally or in technology, what are you most excited about?
I mean, Blooma is like we've got a green field. It is so wide open. There's so much that needs to be done just within the commercial real estate space. And so I see this field, I'm super excited about it. And yes, there's competition, and yes, there's like big companies that are building these LOS systems. And everybody asks me, like, are you worried about them competing with you? And I'm less worried about these big companies than I am about, the two people that are sitting in a dorm room, in some dark place somewhere. Those are the folks that I'm like looking for, right? Mm-hmm. But I love the opportunity. I love what's sitting out there. I'm excited about the other folks that I know around me that are doing things in different spaces, and just the amount of innovation that's happening in spaces that are long overdue is just super, super exciting. So yeah, I'm glad to be a part of it.
For those that want to learn more about Blooma and the exciting things that they are doing there, you can go to blooma.ai. That's BLOOMA.ai. Thank you, Shayne, for your time and sharing the journey that you've been on, the excitement and passion for potentially those might see interesting industry and where you're headed. This has been awesome.
Thanks, Alexander. I've had a great time.
And we'll see you all on the next episode of UpTech Report. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.